The following story and photos are from GiantPandaKing's book, Gotham 1919 to 1939, by Russell S. Beatty, available from www.giantpandaking.com. Viewer discretion is advised.
I've had allies along this journey. Some have been good friends. Some have become enemies.
It was a cold winter evening in 1937, and Julian Day sat by the fireplace in his small apartment, staring blankly into the flames. It was close to the holiday season, but his thoughts were far from the joy that it would normally bring most people. Memories of his childhood flooded back, and he shuddered as he remembered the years of abuse he had suffered at the hands of his parents. They had been cruel to him, rarely praising his achievements and frequently pointing out his flaws. They would also beat him if he misbehaved or drew negative attention to either one of them. But it wasn't just these things that his thoughts dwelled on. What haunted him the most was the memory of that fateful Christmas day, years ago, when he had snapped and taken his parents' lives. Julian recalled feeling helpless, alone, and unheard. His parents exerted control over almost every facet of his life. All he had wanted was one present for Christmas that year. He didn't care what it was. He just wanted that one luxury. His parents had dismissively promised him that Santa would bring him one. This was months before the holiday, and Julian was elated. He had previously felt like he had reached his tipping point with their cruelty, but this promise kept him going. Julian did his best to stay well-behaved and be a model child for the rest of the year. When Christmas Day arrived, Julian went to the main room of their home. There was no present under the tree. He asked his parents why Santa hadn't brought him anything, and they responded by telling him that Santa Claus wasn't real. The rage began to boil within Julian as his mother and father shrugged it off. He stormed out of the room and straight to his father's dresser. He drew his father's pistol from it. If his parents wouldn't let him have control of his own life, he decided he would take it himself. Filled with rage and resolve, he returned downstairs and shot his parents dead. He then continued to celebrate the holiday with their corpses. The police eventually arrived. Reports of gunshots had reached them. All of these events were recounted in interviews after Julian Day's arrest. Decades later, some would theorize that Julian could have had a lesion on the frontal lobe of his brain. This could have resulted in sudden, violent outbursts. Julian had been in and out of institutions for years since that day, but he knew that he could never be truly free. His grim reputation had followed him wherever he went. This hung over him like a dark shadow. He eventually managed to stay out of institutions long enough to start taking odd jobs, but he was never employed long. He would either be fired or quit himself. Every time a holiday came around, he would be unable to stop thinking about that fateful Christmas years ago. He began to slip, and again he snapped. At the sight of a family walking down the street near Easter Day, he began to follow them. For the next 2 days, he watched them, learning their routine, and eventually broke into their home on Easter morning. He murdered them in their own home, unable to control himself due to his impulses. The name Calendar Man was coined by the media. It burned into Julian's mind. He began to repeat this macabre tradition of killing families and spending holidays with their corpses. The authorities were hard-pressed to stop this Calendar Man. Seemingly no one was safe around the holidays. It was a dark and twisted world that Julian had created for himself. He was horrified with himself at first, but he couldn't help feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction as the years went by. He had felt so out of control, and taking these lives gave him a twisted, morbid sense of taking matters into his own hands. As the years raged on, Julian found himself struggling to survive, but he refused to give up his twisted way of life. He even went as far as to carve the different months of the year into his forehead and stretched around the rest of his head. It was a gruesome sight to behold, but Julian was proud of it. He continued to plan his killings meticulously, scouting houses and families for days, even weeks. He would choose his victims carefully and learn everything he could about them. Julian also crafted his costumes, dressing up for each holiday. He found that no one batted an eye when the Easter Bunny was sighted on Easter, or Santa Claus was seen walking around downtown Gotham near Christmas time. The police had been on his trail for years, but somehow he always managed to evade them and continue his gruesome tradition. Eventually, he was bound to slip up. His work became sloppy, and he accidentally left various clues leading to his identity. When the Batman picked up the case, these clues became damning for Julian. As Julian sat in his apartment, listening to the radio and waiting for his next opportunity, he couldn't help but wonder how long he could keep this up. After all these years, he had grown tired. He knew he would be caught by the Batman, but he couldn't bring himself to stop. Even as the Batman came crashing through his window, Julian Day's thoughts most likely went to his first kill, that of his family. Regardless of the brutality he had wrought on others, he now just felt numb. All that was left of him was the Calendar Man. The Calendar Man had become a part of him, and he knew that he would never be able to escape his twisted desires.